how do most kind of clients find you? Is it the same way you found like being known in like trans influencers? And then is that kind of how people find you today, like clients?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm on Instagram. I do a lot of outreach on Instagram, through
Okay.
DMs, and I like to help trans people. I like to help trans people get the bodies they want, and so that's what almost all of
Yeah.
my content is around: is how
Got it.
trans people can get to I say manipulate their bodies, manipulate their diet and exercise routines to get the bodies that they want. So like
Sure.
the program I call my major best the program that most people want with me is I call the Dream Body program, right?
Okay.
And the reason I call it this is because like when I was a little kid, I was obsessed with Home Improvement, with Tim Allen, the
Oh
sitcom,
yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
I
Wow,
thought
I haven't
that
heard someone say that in forever. Go ahead.
I loved it.
So
And
did I.
I thought Jonathan Taylor Thomas's character in that was like the coolest, right? And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
and I was like a blonde hair like kid, and we were about the same age when it was all coming out, and I'm like, man, I really want to be like him, and I just want to be like him. And he was like a heartthrob, and everybody, and I was a little girl at the time, right? I was a female at birth, and I'm like, I just want to look like him. And everybody
Wow.
thought I had a crush on him, and I'm like, no, I want to be him. I don't want to have a crush on him. And I think I almost did this like subconsciously. I just kind of like started cut when I finally came out, when I transitioned, I started cutting my hair like the haircuts he had when like he went to college, and
Oh yeah, I remember all these. Oh
I
yeah.
started like building that body. And I'm like, I just realized that like I was just trying. I right now my goal physique is to basically look like the heartthrobs that I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I um I think just subconsciously it was like I'm just building my dream body, and I want other people to have the dream body they want. So
Sure. And you're referring to like, I don't know for you, like growing up in Ohio as well, like not having access or like the 90s, although some people may disagree with this, wasn't that long ago, but
right.
like there wasn't access like there is today, right? To understand what's going on. So everyone's telling you you're having a crush on this guy, and you're like, I don't think that's what's happening here, right?
Yeah.
You're like, the way people describe crushes is not what I'm feeling here, right? Like, yeah, but there's not, I don't know, for you, at least like for me growing up and like not really having language for being queer, like it was just like, I don't know if I agree with that's what's going on here, right? But I do think what you're saying is like having access or the ability, and I know that like obviously being assigned female at birth limits like you can't change your bone structure. Like we both know that. Like you know that probably better than I do as someone that understands science way better, but you can help someone to kind of reclaim. I think your idea of like coming home is like reclaiming ownership in a way that like others didn't allow you to have growing up. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you. It just feels a little bit like that.
No, I think that's exactly what it is. And it's like I get people all the time. Well, first off, so like I think that you hit it completely on the head with the crush thing. It was like it's so funny because my mom, like I used to have like my mom always thought I had a type, like out of like the movie stars I had crushes on, and I'm like, they were blonde, kind of tan, and had blue eyes. That's just me and what I wanted to look like, and I
Yeah.
can't believe no one saw that. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't either at the time, but like,
Totally.
it was just like, well, duh.
Yeah.
And but I have a lot of people all the time, and it's like, uh, because like you can't spot reduce fat, you can't really force someone's hips to be smaller, you can't do that. It's just not possible without like I guess maybe major surgery. But
Sure.
I I talk to people all the time because I'm like, well, a lot of this is going to be forcing perspective. So that's what I talk to my clients about. I'm like, well, so if you
Interesting.
want your waist or your hips to look smaller, maybe we'll just try to make your upper body a little wider.
Got it.
So then it looks a little different, like your proportions would be different. And that's typically how I go about that. So I'm like, well, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on bringing your upper body up. So we're going to force that perspective. So maybe it will make you feel a little bit less dysphoric.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the conversations I have with people a lot.
Yeah. And that's what like they're noticing, right? Is like not feeling like enough. It's like, I don't, my shoulders are too small, my hips are too this, right? And you're like, I can't, go in and have major surgery, but we can do things to hopefully give you either less dysphoria or some euphoria here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just like things like I was talking to someone else and another trans guy who I play softball with, and I'm like, I mean, I used to be so triggered when I would go and play sports and like my chest would move, right?
Sure.
And and this is probably a little frank for your platform, but like I had big boobs before I had
No.
top surgery, and
Yeah.
so I used to be really dysphoric about it. So I would like
Of
run
course.
really funny, or I wouldn't run, or I would like
Hmm.
something like that. And now I've had top surgery and I'm growing my chest a little bit, the muscle on my chest, and I'm like,
Sure.
well, okay, I get movement now, but for some reason now I'm stoked about it. And I was making fun of,
Yeah.
not making fun, but I was joking with another trans guy. He's like, I know, isn't it great? We're just
Yeah.
regrowing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it feels a lot better this time.
But I don't think that I think that's honest though. Like I personally know someone that has a lot of dysphoria around their chest as well, and they're moving towards top surgery, right? And they talk about and they're small but have a huge chest, as they would say as well, right? And they're like, this is the biggest punishment of my life, right? But it's like they talk about they never sit up straight because if they hunch their shoulders, it's like it becomes less distracting, right? For yeah. And like
Yeah,
they anytime like walking around, it's like this, right? It's like and they're like, I know what I'm doing, it's to hide from the world, right? Like I can't see it and I don't want anyone to see it. And it's like moving towards top surgery, like they're like, I can't even imagine the idea that I would be able to like basically pull my body back and like would feel okay with myself seeing myself, right? Not even the world, myself experiencing that. That's what you're describing in a way.
absolutely. Well, and I think another thing that people would miss a lot, that weren't trans trainers or understood the trans experience,
Yeah.
like form is a lot, like it's very important to not be like this when you're doing exercises because it'll screw up all of your muscle placement.
Absolutely.
And so like a lot of times when I first have like a trans individual who I'm checking for, because I do a lot of video checks, and I'm like, okay, we got to roll your shoulders back, and sometimes it's a little triggering, but you got to put your chest like up a little, right, to make sure that we have your back in line, because we don't want to get
Yeah.
injured. And it's like it's just a conversation that you have to have gently with people, just because sometimes it can be really rough, especially if you haven't had surgery, or maybe
Totally.
you're just don't feel comfortable with it yet. And
Totally.
it's so it's just another level of having someone that really understands where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's so
Like
important.
I can only imagine like a cis like male being like push up, right? And like pushing on someone, right? Like you see a lot of trainers that do stuff like that and really like trying to push and be like showing, right? But like not really understanding what's going on in that moment. And you're kind of just cushioning it, being like, I know this is emotionally gonna hurt and I'm not intending to hurt. I want to talk to you about from like a bone structure why this will help over time. But I know you're in emotional pain here too. Like I see you, right? I don't think everyone can do that, is what
Yeah,
you're describing.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is like people, especially like sometimes people have old emails, and it's all kinds of stuff. Like it's just a lot of
You're
micro
right.
things that people wouldn't have the right mindset when they're approaching it, to be
No,
like aware of, of
no,
it. And
no.
so I just think it's really important to like have people who have access to that kind of thing, and like,
Absolutely.
or even like I'm not saying that all cis trainers are bad. Like a lot of them just don't understand, and it's
Yeah.
just like it takes extra education, but it needs to be education that they're seeking out from the interwebs or from some like it's not the client's job to do that
No,
kind of.
no.
So
It's like the same thing in therapy, right? Like it's not like tell me. It's like yes, everyone has an individualized experience, but it's not like speak for the whole community to explain it for me and tokenize someone, right? Like it's the same thing. And people really, when they form a relationship with a trainer or a coach, like it is, I mean what I'm saying, it's really therapeutic. It is, it's very healing. And it could be really damaging if it's the wrong fit.